Alrighty gang, it's Reed again with ENR Collectors, and this time I'm going to do a kind of super late entry to Beauty Comics, his top 10 tag. If you're watching this, Beauty Comics, I saw your video, or your most recent haul earlier today with the thrift store haul, and you had said that the tag was all but over, and I guess I have to apologize. I didn't realize that there was a time limit to the tag, and I know you mentioned something about sending stuff off to people, but don't worry about doing that with me since I'm a little late doing this. But I did want to make this video, when I first saw it, because I liked the idea, and here in Colorado, the state seems to burst into flames every other month, so it kind of makes sense to think about your top 10 comics that you would take in an emergency. And so I've got also my 5 runner-ups, I guess. Now, don't laugh at my books, okay? So I don't have any books near as valuable as a lot of people in the YouTube comic community. I've said it before, I'm fairly new, and the channel is kind of more to show the growth of my channel more than anything. But so some of these books may not seem like much to you guys, but I really like them. So without further eloquence, I'll start off with my runner-ups. These are the ones that I would hate to see go. I'll start off here. This is one of my more recent Artgerm pickups. Just the camera here. So that's Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man. Sorry about the glare. So that's Mary Jane and Deadpool and X-23 kind of all combined into one. I do really like this cover. I don't know, I kind of like my comic book covers with some more stuff going on in the background, I guess, as opposed to just characters, but still a beautiful book. And yes, it is hard to skip on this one, but my favorites always change, so who knows, in about a month I might choose to actually take this one as my top 10, one of my top 10. I don't know, it's up there. Now I gotta fit some Star Wars in there, so this is Dr. Aphra number 8, Denver Comic Con exclusive from last year. The cover's by Ashley Witter. I really like this book more and more. Every time I look at it, the amount of detail in this, I mean, the camera probably can't do it justice, but the amount of detail is just incredible, and I really love it. But I'm not entirely sure as to the value of it, so I might have to pass on that one. So then, do some of my graded books. It's another hard one. This is Star Wars number 1, J. Scott Campbell. This glare is just terrible. I am sorry about this. It's graded a 9.4. I don't know if you can see that, and it's signed by J. Scott Campbell there as well. It may be sacrilegious to say, but J. Scott Campbell isn't necessarily one of my favorite artists. My brother really likes J. Scott Campbell, so if you see some of the past videos on this channel that he's done, you'll see a lot of J. Scott Campbell with him. This is, I think, the only J. Scott Campbell book I have. I think so. So, I mean, I still love it, but it doesn't quite make the cut of my top 10, so. Alright, these next two are the very first books that I ever had signed, and the very first books I ever got graded as well. So this is Darth Vader number 1. This is the action figure variant. I have been trying to collect all of John Tyler Christopher's action figure variants for all the new Marvel Star Wars books. I'm missing a couple of the Holy Grails, like the black and white Luke Skywalker, but this is one that I have. It's signed by Kieran Gillen, who's the author, the writer. So this was, the first book I ever got signed. And again, while I love it, it doesn't quite make the cut. Okay, so now this next book. You might be able to tell from the back. I have been hesitating. I know I've never shown this book before. Because I'm really kind of embarrassed about it. This is the epitome of like mixed emotions as far as my feelings towards this book. I don't know. It's not necessarily a valuable book, especially in this grade. This was way back in my ignorant days, a couple years ago, where I didn't know much about grading and everything, but I wanted to get into grading books. And so, again, this along with that Darth Vader, some of the first ones I got graded, and this book's worth nothing except for the signature that's on it. So this is Amazing Spider-Man number 400, signed by Stan Lee. So this is my only Stan Lee signature. He came to Denver Comic Con 2 years ago, I want to say. And so I really wanted to meet Stan Lee and get his signature, but I was like, well, what do I get his signature on? So there's another kind of story about this book. This might technically be the first comic book I've ever owned as well. So a long time ago, this is several years ago, my brothers and I were rooting around in the basement and we found 3 Spider-Man books. 2 of them weren't anything. And then there was this Amazing Spider-Man number 400. In this issue, Aunt May dies. And we were trying to figure out, well, okay, so there's 3 of us, me and my brothers, and there are 3 Spider-Man books here, so we figured there's one for each. But no one could remember whose was whose. So, just kind of how it worked out is I ended up with this one. I do not ever remember getting this book in a store. I do not remember seeing this before, I don't know, this may have been 4 or 5 years ago when we found this in the basement, but, I ended up with this one, so I was like, when I heard Stan Lee was coming, I was like, well, I don't really have anything of value for him to sign at this point, except for this Amazing Spider-Man 400. It's kind of a minor key issue, and Stan Lee wrote like an introduction to the book, and so there's kind of nostalgic value behind this book, but there's also not, since I don't remember this at all. I really like that it has a Stan Lee signature, but again, at this grade, the book isn't worth all that much in a high grade either, so I have to let it go. I don't know. Don't laugh at me. I know it's kind of embarrassing, but that was back when I didn't know any better. So those were my 5 runner-ups, I guess. So now we'll get into my top 10. So I will start off. Most of these are modern books, fairly recent. But this one is the oldest book I have in my collection. I think it's the only Silver Age book that I have, actually. I want to try to expand more into Silver Age books. But this is Batman number 190. It's, just a really, I guess, iconic Penguin story. And if you guys couldn't tell, I really like the Penguin. He's my favorite villain. So I really like the Penguin, and so this is kind of a key. This book makes my top 10, not necessarily this issue. I really want to upgrade because this book is in terrible condition. The cover is detached, and it's beat. You probably can't see that, but it's in terrible condition, but I'm looking to, any day now, if I can find it anywhere, purchase this one because it's not terribly expensive, but yes, I really want an upgrade. So this particular book I want in my top 10, but not necessarily this individual issue. So there's that. This is another one that I just really like, Darth Maul. This is the 1 in 50 Mark Brooks variant for Darth Maul number 1. Darth Maul is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, one of my top 3 favorite Star Wars characters, so I really like this. Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode 1, is going to be at Denver Comic Con this year, so I hope to get this signed by him, and then this will really be in my top 10. So then this is probably my favorite Art Germ cover that I have of his, and that I've probably seen that he's done. Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows #1. I just really like this cover. You know, I've got a whole bunch of Art Germs, and you know, a lot of them didn't make the cut, but this is definitely my favorite so far, so that's in the top 10. Now, going back to Star Wars, you are going to see a lot of Star Wars, and I know a lot of these I've shown before, so I'm sorry if I'm getting repetitive. Like I said, until I finish college, my comic book collection might not be growing as fast as other people on YouTube here, but this is Force Awakens #1, graded 9.8. This is the Neal Adams cover. This is the only Star Wars cover I've seen Neal Adams do, and he's easily one of my top 5 favorite artists. I've got another Neal Adams in this video a little bit later on. So I got this. I just think this is an incredible cover. The story of the book, I mean, it's just, you know, the comic book adaptation of the movie, so the story itself isn't really anything special, but that cover art alone just knocks it right up there in my top 10. So then these next two I'm going to show together because they're fairly similar. Like I said, I like to collect the Star Wars action figure covers, and these are two of the hardest to find action figure variants of any of these Star Wars books. And these make the cut just because I really enjoyed the hunt for these. I found this one at a small con, and then this book I bought raw off of eBay and then sent it in to get graded. Both 9.8s. You know, these are valuable books, and you know, like I said, I just really enjoyed the hunt for them. You know, graded, they probably go for around $100 each, so you know, they're big boy books. They're probably the most rare after the black and white Luke Skywalker action figure for Star Wars #1. I cannot find that particular book for less than $1,000 on eBay, so I'm not sure I'll ever have it. Fantastic Horde has it. I know, he's kind of a newer YouTuber, and he showed that off a while ago in one of his first videos. But, you know, I really enjoy those. So, Beauty Comics, this one's for you. Okay, African American alert. African American alert. Luke Cage #1. So, this is the Neal Adams variant cover for it. I got this at Denver Comic Con last year as well. And it's also signed by Mike Colter. He plays Luke Cage in the Netflix TV show. The Luke Cage Netflix show is probably my favorite of the Netflix series. So, you know, he was going to be at Comic Con, and it's like, that'd be really neat to get his autograph, but I wasn't sure what he was, or what I would have him sign. And so I made my way to Neal Adams' booth before heading over to see Mike Colter, and you know, I saw this book there, and I was like, well, that's perfect. So picked this up, bought it at Neal Adams' booth, and he signed it up there, and then brought it over to Mike Colter, and then he signed it there. So I don't know, it's a really nice, you know, cover, and you know, I kind of like the story behind it too. I had fun getting it. Next is Batman Adventures #1. So, you know, I'm a big Batman the Animated Series fan, so Kevin Conroy was going to be Denver Comic Con last year, and he voices Batman in the animated series, so I got his autograph there, and it's also signed by Ty Templeton, who is the artist for this issue. So, I don't know. I like double-signed books, and even if it's a 9.2, I mean, I'm kind of happy with anything over a 9.0, so. And again, it's got the penguin on the cover, and, You know me, I'm a big Penguin guy, so this definitely makes the cut here. Really like that one. Next, so this one is pretty much pure sentimental value back to Star Wars. Not a particularly valuable book, but Star Wars #1, cover by Sara Pichelli. This is the first ever variant cover I ever bought, and I kind of marked this particular book, this particular issue, this specific book, as kind of the start of my comic book collecting. I had wanted to get into comic books for a while. I just wasn't really sure where to start. I had gotten some Batman books and stuff like that, nothing that was really too valuable. But I was coming in the middle of story arcs, and I was still trying to figure out where to get into comics. So then back in 2015, they announced Marvel was going to start off a whole bunch of new Star Wars comic books, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I was like, that's perfect. It's a perfect place for me to jump in and start my comic book collection. So I was looking into it, and I saw that with Star Wars #1, they were going to have all these things called variant covers for it. So I looked into what variant covers were, and intrigued me that they carry a little bit more value, and went to the store, and this was the one that I liked the most. I really like the Imperial Guards and stuff in the back, and so this is a purely sentimental book. Not necessarily valuable, but this is kind of where I say my collection all started off. So, and then the last one, this one as of right now is my favorite book. It's another Star Wars one, all right. So Beauty Comics, this one's for you again. African American alert, African American alert. Lando #1. I have shown this before, I know. This is the 1 in 50 Alex Ross variant cover for Lando #1. Lando is another one of my top 3 favorite Star Wars characters. And I got it signed by Billy D. Williams. Kind of hard to see. The only thing that would make it better would be if he had signed it in a little different color as opposed to blue. Blue Sharpie on this book is probably the worst choice to sign a book. But still, I love it. I know the grade says 8.5 up there, but when we got it signed, they have to put this little sticker on the back for the certificate of authenticity that comes with the signature, and that little sticker is what knocks it down to an 8.5. Otherwise, looking at this book, it is impeccable. The only grader's note on it is the little sticker. So this is a 9.8. I know it's a 9.8. And it's just beautiful. And signed by Billy D. Williams. So, yeah, that is my top 10 books. I think some of those I haven't shown before. Like I know I haven't shown that one. I know I haven't shown this one because I'm kind of embarrassed by it. I both love it and hate it at the same time, but I keep it because it's a good expression of kind of how I've grown as a collector, I think. So this one I'd keep, this one I'd leave behind. But yeah, so Beauty Comics again, this is a great tag. I'm sorry it's so late. I leave all my big boy books here at my parents' house, and I go to school in a different state, so just so I'm not transporting them all over the place every time I move, which is all the time while in college. So until I get a firm solid place of my own here, hopefully in 2 weeks when I graduate, so I'll be able to do a lot more tags and contests and stuff as they come out. So I'm sorry this is so late, but I hope you enjoyed watching this. Again, I don't have any big first appearance keys or anything like that. I would like to try to start growing my big key collection. Once I have a full-time job and some actual money and stuff, I can throw out comic books, but in a couple months, I hope to be able to afford some of the bigger boy books. You know, maybe some older Penguin books and stuff that I'm looking to get. So, yeah. Again, you know, I know you had said something about sending stuff off to people who did the tag. Don't worry about that for me since I'm so late. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing a couple more contests here, I think, this week while I'm home on spring break. So, yeah, just wanted to do it. I think it's fun. Now I have a good idea if, you know, ever have to evacuate due to a wildfire or something like that, you know, what I can bring. So, sorry this ran a little long. I do kind of tend to talk a lot. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.